Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene.
Yo, how we doing, boys?
Hey, good to see you again.
Evening.
Well,
It has.
So we're recording this afterwards, as we sometimes do secretly. But we've got a warning in that the interview, the internet cut out a couple of times in the interview. So apologies for the audio quality in a couple of places. But we're very excited to have Patrick Ryan, Deepwater Dreaming, off Instagram, on the podcast today.
Looking forward to it.
his content on Instagram is literally insane.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
He's literally shot an oarfish. I mean, I don't know anyone else who's speared an oarfish.
No, it's just unreal.
It's literally-
Dentex, Kingfish, like you name it, it's all over Instagram. It's and he lives the dream, doesn't he?
Oh, mate, like, yeah, for sure. I mean, I follow his Instagram quite closely, and to say I'm jealous is a bit of an understatement, to be fair. You lads got out the weekend, did you? Had a good diving?
Yeah, crack and dive. I mean, we didn't see any fish. Oh no, I saw dogfish and a wrasse. If it was Anthony, there'd be a couple of fish in the boat.
I saw a wrasse as well. Thank you very much. I was even telling you where there was.
What? You didn't shoot it?
No, I told you where it was because I just didn't fancy wrasse.
You changed.
I know. I'm becoming woke. I'm gonna start protesting about. We should stop spearfishing because it's killing the little fishies, and it's not good for them. But
You
no.
can.
I'm definitely not becoming woke. No, I just didn't feel like it. It wasn't a wrasse day. Wrasse is like a summer ceviche for me.
Yeah, fair. I get it.
Nice freshness. I wasn't planning on taking a wrasse before, so I'd had nothing prepped. And the wrasse that I saw that I was talking to you about beneath a little recce bit was fucking huge. So hopefully I'll leave him there and I'll go and get him during the summer.
Yeah, makes sense. I had the dogfish swim under me, and I was basically touching its head with the end of my spear, and I was like, "Do I? Don't I? Do I? Don't I?" And then I was like, "Nah, it's a lot of effort, and it'll only make a crap curry." And I got to surface, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I should have done." You get that like regret. Anyway, we came back with some nice scallops and a load of mussels. Oh man, those mussels! What a pain in the backside to like prepare.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because they're not rope grown. They're like covered in loads of like barnacles and other stuff.
So,
well, anyway, I don't know if I needed to do this, but I read the internet and it said, scrape them all off.
Oh God, no!
I've never done that. I just boil them, mate.
You don't need to.
I just steam them like that.
Yeah,
barnacles and all.
Yeah. So,
well, I thought it might make like the broth a little bit like grainy. I don't really want sand and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, it was worth it because they were absolutely delicious. But it took me about an hour of like scraping off these mussels, going, "Why the hell did I take so many?" Damon took 3 times the amount, so I don't know how long it took him.
So with mussels, it doesn't matter where you get them. Well, the only thing I'd warn against is picking mussels from estuaries or high up estuaries if it's not by the mouth, only because freshwater mussels are a little bit more risky. But with the mussels that you got, if you're worried about silty, stick them in a bucket for 4 to 6 hours. Just a bucket of water.
I thought about that, but I didn't have any seawater to hand.
Don't need to do seawater. You can do it fresh.
Can you?
Yeah, and then just salt it.
Right.
So just briny water, sort of 2% salinity. Stick them in there for 4 to 6 hours, and they'll pretty much purge. But as with anything like as fresh as that, unless I can't remember. I think it was Fish Locker said that you do it overnight.
I did watch his video, and they were pretty clean, those ones. But he had some salt water because he carries his bucket back from the shore, doesn't he? And
Yeah, you don't need salt water though. You can do it in just salted fresh.
Yeah, and I was hungry, so I wasn't going to wait overnight either. So
anyway, a little bit of grit's good for you. Cleans your teeth out. That's fine.
Yeah, well, cleans your insides, man.
But did when you got
beautiful.
those mussels? Did you see where you went?
Yeah.
I think we spoke about it. Were you taking them off of rocks, or was there just this mat?
The ground there is amazing because it doesn't matter whether you're looking at rocks or where would normally be sand or just rocky surface. It's just covered in mussels. It's like
nice.
this weird, like lunary looking landscape. It's just beautiful, and I'd love to go back there in the summer. And I might surely there must be species like bream there that eat these kind of things. I don't know if because you've been there a few times. I don't know if you've ever seen bream there, but
I've not. But when I've been down there, like you say, the landscape is stunning. It's like this green blue mat. And if you don't when I first dove there, I didn't realize what it was. And I was kind of like, hang on, is this some kind of different rock that I'm like not au fait with at all? And then I got down to it, I was like, holy shit. It is as though there is just this thick rug of mussels, and it's covering absolutely everything. And the water, I don't know whether you notice it, the water around it just seems clearer.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's in such a specific space. I know that that's their job, is that or what they do for a living, I suppose, literally. But it's like just otherworldly.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back to summer, and having the boat just kind of opens up those opportunities, doesn't it?
And you got your scallops.
Definitely enjoying it. Yeah, they didn't last very long. To be fair, Lou decided that she didn't want any of the mussels, so I had like this huge. I mean, it was ridiculous. This huge thing of brothy scallops and mussels, and it was just and chips, because you got to have chips with mussels, right?
Yeah. Did you do mille mariniere?
Garlic, white wine. I just made it up, mate. Yeah, it was garlicky, white winey, oniony. I don't tend to follow recipes and stuff like that. It's just like to freestyle it a bit, and we don't often have stuff in the cupboard, so just can't remember what I put in there. But no, it was delicious anyway, absolutely delicious.
I managed to get a brown crab and a lobster.
Oh yeah, but it ate the crab ate the lobster, didn't it?
Yes.
So they fight, do they?
I got the lobster first, put the lobster in the freezer box, or the cool box, whatever it is, and then got the crab probably an hour later, and I didn't even think about it. I sort of thought, well, the lobster's in the bottom of it. I just threw the crab in the box, put the lid on, got back on the boat about half an hour later, and it's perfectly the crab had chopped through the back of the lobster behind its head where its sort of tail plates start. Absolute perfect cut. However, the crab, by the time that I got home, was pretty limp, pretty like sort of like it wasn't enjoying life, and so they were both cooked straight away. For all intents and purposes, the crab was dead by the time I got home. The lobster absolutely kicking its tits off, even with half of its body hanging literally off of it. And the lobster was like, "Nah, I'm not going out of that fight." It's like, Jesus Christ, really good. And then the scallops, they've been. I forget how long it takes to properly do scallops, or how inefficient.
I've got it nailed now, because I've got a system where get home, put them in a steel tray in the fridge. That they all open up. I bring the tray out, and all the ones that are open, I put on a separate tray. Put the ones that are still closed back in the fridge. And as I'm going through the ones that are open, I just cut the tops off, set them aside. I don't bother with like cleaning them out until I've done that. But the key thing is out from the fridge, get the top off, and then move on to the next one. And if you do that, I reckon. What do we have? So I had full lot of 25 scallops, and I think 22 of them were fully open.
Nice.
And it's just no dramas at all. So
do you see the size of the roe on
fridges them? Say again?
Do you see the size of the roe on them?
Oh, it was beautiful. I added that to the mussel broth as well.
Yeah, I mean this time of year. What are we now? I just need to record it. March. The roe in all of those scallops were the biggest I've seen.
Yeah, it was really it was a bit 50-50 actually with some of my like some of them had them in and they were like really good quality ones, and the other ones it almost looked like it had spawned. So I thought scallops spawned in the summer, but maybe I just misunderstood. Don't know.
So there's only one scallop, and it's the first time I've ever seen it. That out of all of mine, all of the roe were absolute like they were huge. They were well hung for the size of the scallop. But it was the first time I've ever had a scallop that I thought it looked ill. Like it just didn't look healthy. And so I popped the shell off, and the outside of it looked a little bit greener than the rest of them. It looked a little bit more algae type. And when I popped the top off of it, where you would usually find the creamy, the scallop meat, sort of like a creamy pink, it was kind of grey and slightly translucent, and its coral was spent / again, like it looked kind of zombie. And like that one, I played it. Well, I said played around with it. I inspected it. Yeah, played around with it. Zombie scallop.
Don't worry about you.
But just sort of inspected it for a couple of minutes just to try and look at it. But it was just like, actually, no, this is kind of like one of those mussels that doesn't open.
It's not worth it.
Just absolutely. Just it went straight in the bin. But it's the first time I've ever seen that. So
no, never seen that.
Anyone had any new gear yet this season?
I mean, I just don't have any budget left after all the boats. I just can't justify it. No way.
I tried my polo sub.
Oh, nice.
And holy fucking Christ. If you've got the money, buy a fucking polo sub. And they're the best sponsor me. Like, they better sponsor me. That thing was like wearing, and I'm used to wearing them outside of the water, like leggings. It was just like a pair of leggings or lycra shorts that I didn't feel like I was wearing a suit at all.
5 mil?
5.5.
Right.
And it's the whole twin layered neoprene thing with the slicey in the middle, so you will not easily tear it. It's got the pads on the elbows, pads on the knees, and a pisset.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least now you don't stink of piss anymore. Poor Rachel, I'm washing.
I know. And when I got home, got in the shower, got the suit off, and there was like absolutely no smell of piss whatsoever. Getting used to using a pisset is different, though, considering I'm used to not using a pisset. So when I start pissing, I then have to stop halfway through the very beginning of the stream to go, shit, make sure your cock is in the thing, move your cock out of the sort of the strap, because otherwise it's like it's you're just pissing in your suit. And so yeah, it was a bit to get used to. But now that I'm starting to remember, getting in the boat was easier. It didn't feel like I was fighting the suit. I didn't feel like I was a Michelin man, even though I look like one because the 2 kilos that Rich has lost, I've put on. Just, yeah, I could not recommend it enough. Like for the first time wearing it, it's like having just a thick skin. It was awesome. Sweet. And I was sweating my tits off, and it was 10 degrees in the water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so that's what new suits do, man.
Yep. And yeah, talking about new suits, so I've been used to my 7 mil, which is what I've always had the start point 7 mil. We'll leave that there. The polo sub is a 5.5, and I said to Davo, the first thing I need to do when I get in the water is re-weight myself. So I got in the water, put my 7 kilos on, which I'm used to, on my belt with the 7 mil, did my exhale. The water came just up to my nose. My 5.5 polo sub is as buoyant as my old 7 mil.
Yeah. But you might find that the 7 mils lost quite a bit of that buoyancy in the last. I mean, you've been doing it for 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
Yes, but that suit was only 5 months old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No,
so probably not, as you haven't been in the water for 5 months.
Exactly. So, yeah. So no, I can't recommend it enough.
Talking about sponsors, obviously we're now sponsored by Underwater Foraging UK. So
Samuel.
Yeah, obviously Sam dog. runs the shop, and he's kindly sponsored the podcast. I managed to pick up a new float from Sam, so it's just a sort of jobby for me to, because obviously I live literally on the beach now, so I want something that was a bit smaller so I could just go do an easy shore dive.
What do you get? Just like a tube or?
It's literally something that turns sort of like from a bag into a float, and it's just easy for me to transport stuff. Really, nothing too fancy.
Oh, that sounds cool.
But Sam's got loads of stuff on there, and he's even got like a second-hand page and a raffles page as well, where the second-hand page has got like quite cheap stuff on it, so it's worth people checking out. And I'll link his shop in the show notes of this episode. But we obviously got loads of testing stuff that we're going to do throughout the year, and obviously he's also going to be selling our merch for us, isn't he?
That's the big thing.
There was a problem with the printer apparently or something, but it's now fixed, and the merch will be out like hopefully next week.
Oh, that's really exciting.
I keep saying next week. I'm hoping next week.
Well, considering you've already got my fucking money, give me my shirts, bitch.
I need my merch. I've not got my cap yet. So...
No, I know.
Yeah. But Well,
what is that logo on your hat? Isn't it that like the?
Oh, I'm the Punisher. Yeah,
the Punisher.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
punishing yourself.
I'm slowly turning into the Punisher.
Punishing yourself on the new Spearo journey to fitness.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's trying to kill me, man.
Keep at it.
Yeah, sweet. So, let's get Patrick on and see what he's all about. Eh?
Let's get Patrick on. He's already been on. Let's get him on.
Hey, Patrick. Welcome to the Spearo Hangout.
Welcome.
How you doing, mate? How you guys doing?
Welcome, Patrick.
We're good. We're good.
Yeah. Apart from cold.
We wanted to get you on for a while, mate. Your content on Instagram is absolutely incredible, man.
No, much appreciated, man. I give it a go, but it's a work in progress.
No, it's awesome. We were just saying before we got you on that your latest thing on there is an oarfish, which is pretty epic. I don't know if any other spearfisher has ever caught such a fish, but that's not the only incredible thing on there. So for the listeners that don't know, Patrick is Deep Water Dreaming without the G on Instagram. Go and check it out because some really incredible stuff on there.
Awesome. So Patrick,
the G.
Tell us about you. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're about, and a bit of your story.
Basically, I grew up in Riverside, California, which is East LA, in the desert. So not much spearfishing happening out there, mate. Usually just sort of motorbikes and whatnot. Grew up there, then went up to the mountains, up into Canada. And I was sort of always kind of nervous about the water, deep water, anything really. I was kind of afraid of the water. So once I moved out to Australia, I was working out on Rottnest Island and then had opportunity to go out to Sri Lanka. So I went out to Sri Lanka and then did a little bit of a scuba dive course out there. And that sort of opened the doors into the underwater world. Helped me overcome the fear of that, but that's the basis of it anyways.
Amazing. Have you done any hunting before? Like when you're in the mountains, or it's just like...
I was in the U.S. Army, so I did a bit of hunting overseas, but no. No. But anyways, I did some hunting up in the mountains and up in Idaho and in California and in Canada as well. So it kind of came natural to me, but underwater was a whole different world,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Patrick, so you're a spearfishing guide as well, yeah?
Yeah. So I've done spearfishing charters and trips around the world. I was doing my own trips around the Mediterranean in Albania, helping a few guys out there get onto their first Dentex and stuff like that. Absolutely beautiful experience. Helped out some mates like David Ochoa do some trips overseas to the Azores and Cabo Verde as a safety diver for his clients. And initially I was starting out just helping with freediving courses and stuff, and sort of just kind of ballooned out to different things. So
how long have you been spearfishing?
Yeah.
Just the spearfishing
I've been
side?
Just spearfishing side. I've been doing it since, it has to be probably the beginning of the Noob Spiro podcast, like the first episodes of their podcast.
Wow. Nice.
Whenever that was, quite a few years ago.
Was that a big factor in getting you into the sport, or did you hear about it? How did you hear about spearfishing?
One night, me and my mate, he was like FIFO in Australia, Western Australia, and he was on his time off back in WA. We had a few beers, we were watching the YouTube, we were just kind of Googling some guys spearfishing around the west coast of Australia.
Yeah.
And we said, holy shit, that's crazy, mate. We need to give that a go. So went to our local shop, which was just this little shop in the middle of nowhere, really. Got some, I think they were like 75s or 55s, real small shit guns. And grabbed those, did a huge road trip straight up to Exmouth, 14 hours or so, and then jumped in. And my mate was shooting rocks, we were bending our spears, had no idea what we were doing. And then we're like, it was good fun. So we just had to figure it out and go from there.
Did you catch anything on the first trip?
Yeah, the first trip I did shoot something, but bloody hell, mate, I shot what is it called? A red morwong or whatever they call it over there. So It's a pretty shit fish. It's like one of the worst fish you can shoot. But
we don't know the time though. You still ate it, right?
Oh yeah, slimy, disgusting. It was a feed, a disgusting feed, but it was a feed.
You got to start somewhere. So, from looking at the show notes that Richard and you sort of worked together to create, one of the first lines that sort of jumped out to me is you've been to 77 countries, and I take it spearfishing all of them.
Oh, I wish all of them. That would have been an absolute dream. Some of them are a bit landlocked that I've been. But yeah, I've been traveling since 2012. So I've had a pretty rare opportunity to be able to hit most of the world, like half of the world at least. Some of the places I've been, I wasn't into spearfishing when I was there, but it was, those are definitely places that I already understand the local sort of language and how things work, the local communities, because I spent quite a long time there. So I can go back now with a good understanding of the culture and be able to, go as a Spiro instead of just like a regular tourist or whatever you'd say,
That's amazing. Are you doing that for work or is that just for pleasure?
No, I just sort of like, I'd go around at work for some time, I'd do like a working holiday in Australia, do a working holiday in New Zealand, work in Europe or Canada or US, and then save some money and then do my trips and continue on from there.
Nice. So before we get into things like the best places you've been spearfishing and the fish you've caught all over the place, I suppose for listeners and people that are traveling or starting to get into spearfishing or have been spearfishing forever in their own country, but then think that, like you, they want to go abroad and do spearfishing, the first daunting bit is, how the fuck do I get my gear abroad? And for you, I mean, I suppose the easiest question is, how do you do it? How do you go about it?
So that's actually a really good question, and I was just actually talking to a sponsor just seconds before we got on about figuring out a big trip that I'm about to do. And what came into play was obviously the length of the guns that you're bringing and all the equipment that you need to be able to hit the target species that you want, So it's not like, I'm just going to shore dive off the front of the beach here. It's like, okay, I'm going to target this species. I'm going to look for knock off some bucket list fish. So you need specific gear for each circumstance. And sometimes that means that you need big floats, big guns. It's a lot of gear. So ideally on my trips, I've had places where I've been that already have some of the gear. So for example, like bungees for blue water, some of the big floats like the Rob Allen or the Rife 3 Atmosphere, something like that. And then I just try to bring as minimal things as I can, like the fins and my fins, my gun, my mask, snorkel, the things that suit me well. But the other things are sort of universal. You can bring those in and out and they're not going to be a big deal.
And do you backpack them, suitcase them, sports tube?
So sports tubes are very good because they're bloody durable. The only downside of that is they weigh a bit, so you're going to lose a bit of kilos. And I'm kind of a rarity in the spearfishing world. I try to bring my dive weights with me and most of my trips, because some of the places I go, you know, it's like pretty remote, so you might not be able to find dive weights. So those few kilos that I can save on the sport tube, I transfer those by using a what do I have here? Bloody hell! It's I don't know. It's like a snowboard bag. It's right beside me, anyways. A Kathmandu. It's a Kathmandu 120 liter, 190 centimeter bag for skiing and snowboarding, and that thing is actually really, really cool. So the back side of that is a hardened plastic bit with wheels, and it has some clips where I can fold it down if I need to compress it to make shorter lengths. But pack my wetsuits around the fins because I've got carbon fins, so that protects that. And then I bring a few spare shafts on either side. That way it doesn't bend. That counters the factor of, you know, the luggage guys fucking your gear up.
Nice.
But
so I went to Tenerife last year with my other half. And as you were saying with your dive weights, I took my dive weights because I was going over there. I didn't know anyone in Tenerife. So it was going in blind. I'd never done it before. So I thought, I'll put the dive weights in because I borrowed a golfing bag off of Davo, which is similar to your ski bag, where it's got like a hard back, and then the spear kind of looks like a golf club, and like you can kind of get it. But it went way overweight when I had my 7 kilos of lead in it. And so I put them into my carry-on rucksack, and I took them on the plane on the way out. No problem at all. On the way back from Tenerife, when I got through security, this, I'm going to say 6'7" woman that, I mean, she was manlier than me, said, no, absolutely no. And basically I had to go and plead with EasyJet to say, you're fucking putting them in the hold because I'm not leaving them here. And so,
absolutely, 7 kilo, mate.
Yeah, that's a lot of money in lead.
That's an arm and a leg in the UK.
Yeah, it costs more than the flight there and back. But it was. It's always good to, I'd say, if you're going to go traveling, make sure you figure out with your airline provider where things like lead and sports gear need to go.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I did a trip in Southeast Asia from where was I coming from? I don't know, New Zealand. But anyways, I just trip to Southeast Asia, hit up Taiwan, South Korea, Philippines, all diving. And, you know, some of the planes that I was with, they're like, oh, can't bring your fins on. And they're just like, you got to leave them here. I'm like, mate, these things are like 650 euro. I'm not freaking leaving them.
Yeah.
And just being stubborn, I guess stubborn but kind sort of helped. And just feeling like, mate, you're gonna have to let me on. They're not danger to anybody. Yeah. And you know, so I did take one trip from the Kingdom of Tonga, one of the smaller islands, to the main island, and I didn't have any luggage allowance left, so I did end up wearing the whole weight belt with my weights on it on the plane. I got away with it. That was pretty good.
Say, how'd you get through security with them? Put them through and then put them back on after. Awesome.
That's great. Nice. Well, Anthony, you could just leave them behind, man, and just strip another church roof, can you?
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Well, with your weight loss recently, I think you've lost the weight that you could hide the lead on. You'd be fine.
I'm going to rewind a bit, just going back to what you were saying earlier about helping people hunt Dentex. Well, how did you gain that knowledge? Is it just time spent in Albania and the Mediterranean, or did you hunt them elsewhere? Like what how did you get that knowledge to be able to do that?
Oh, bloody hell. Dentex is one of those things that are just like, it's like a ghost, you know. It's those fish that are just like so addicting to hunt, because you see them, but you don't see them close enough. And if you do, they're so flighty that they're not going to hang around long enough for you even shoot them. But I ended up doing a trip from the UK. I bought a small car down in Bristol, and then I drove up while I was waiting for the paperwork for the car. I drove up to Scotland. I was doing spearfishing around the Isle of Skye and whatnot. Came back down. By the time that was sorted, I was able to take the Eurotunnel back over to France, and I did a big trip all the way to the border of Georgia. So I covered heaps of the Mediterranean, all the way across, and there to try to figure out how these freaking fish were acting, you know. And every country was different. Turkey, they were super flaky. Greece, they were coming in, but they were deeper. Every country was different for these things. And finally, when I shot my first one in Greece, but small. But finally in Albania, it just happened to be the mecca for Dentex and big ones. Is that so?
Nice.
Is that where you are now?
Time in the water, I'd say.
You based in Albania now?
No, I'm in.
Or you moved?
No, I've got the freaking Albanian shirt on there, but no, I'm in the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
I just came out here about 5 or 6 months ago. So again,
nice,
change of everything, really. Everything's completely different again, so you have to relearn everything.
Yeah, right. You were in Albania with Dan Mann, right? I saw one of his videos recently, and you guys went out.
Yeah, I was in Albania for like almost 3 years, I'd say. Dan came out a couple years prior. I invited him out when he was kind of touring around, and then he came out. We had a freaking blast, and then he did another one of his sabbaticals. Yeah. And it seems like he's always on a sabbatical like me.
That's amazing, isn't it? What a lifestyle.
And so he's like, mate, look, I'm coming across. And he did almost the same trip as me, driving from the UK all the way to Turkey and back. So yeah, it was pretty cool. He came across, went hunting again. We actually dove down in Albania and Greece, because the southern end of Albania is like 30 minutes to Greece, either by ferry or car. So we managed a couple countries together, and it's real good fun.
Amazing. Awesome. And you've got a IUSA record as well. What is the record? Tell us a story.
Man, I'll tell you what, you guys are gonna laugh. It's a pretty shit fish, to be honest. But the reason, I'll tell you the backstory behind it in a sec. But yeah, it's a giant triggerfish. It's a Titan triggerfish, which is absolutely shit. But the reason why it kind of holds a special place in my heart is because prior to that fish, I was diving I got it in the Tuamotus of French Polynesia. And prior to that, I was diving quite deep, 30s, 25s all the time, like up, down, up, down, up, down. And I don't know, I had a bit of a sinus thing, and I just pushed through, and I was like, fuck it, I have to dive because there's all these epic doggies, there's jobbies, and I was just diving. On the way back up from 27-meter dive, I got a reverse block. Oh, wow. And so I tried to go back down, but I was running out of air, couldn't equalize again. And basically I just had to go to the surface to get air. So my whole sinuses burst on the left side of my face, came up like mud, blood in the mask and everything. And right after that, I had like this insane migraine in the front of the forehead where the sinuses are, couldn't feel anything. And then for almost 2 months, I had complete no feeling on the left side of my face. So I was like almost like the left side of my face was paralyzed, basically. From, I guess it was it kind of exploded, and then it was putting pressure on the nerves in my face. Yeah. And then that pressure made it so that I couldn't feel my tongue, couldn't make any facial expressions on the left side. And so so I was kind of scared to get back in the water, because I was like, okay, even a meter deep, I was afraid to do that again. Yeah. And there was no doctors or anything. This was in the bad C word times, And so there was no flights, there was no doctors, there was not even cargo ships coming to this real small atoll. And so I was like, shit, I can't do that again. So I slowly progressed back down. I'd do down to like 2 meters, and then I'd just sit there and do a hang and sort of get my sinuses used to that. And then like a day later, I'd add a meter and add a meter and add a meter. So I kept seeing these freaking triggerfish around, but they're quite big, And I was like, okay, I'm going to use these fish as training for me to gain my recovery back, So it was like a month process, sort of getting my depth back. And the only thing I was hunting was these triggerfish. So eventually I kept seeing these really, really big ones down deep, around 20, 22 meters, not that deep, but for me, it was quite deep because I was afraid to go deep because of the sinus thing. And so, yeah, eventually my sinuses were slowly getting better and better and better. I was able to manage to shoot one of those things. And I shot one. The next day, I broke my own record. And then 2 days later, I broke that second record. So I got the world record for it like 3 times in a row. But so to be honest, I think anyone probably could beat my record. It's just no one does because it's a shit fish.
So when you say a giant trigger, I mean the trigger that we've got obviously here in the UK is
the grey trigger.
Right, grey trigger. So, and I've never shot one. I've seen one, but I've never shot one. But I've never eaten one. But I've heard that they're like the chicken of the sea. They're meant to be quite a nice fish. What's the difference between what's the difference between that and your giant trigger? Like, why you say why is it shitfish?
Well, I mean, in the Tuamotus and most of French Polynesia, well, Tuamotus for sure, but most of French Polynesia is regarded as quite a delicacy for a lot of the guys. They love it on the barbecue. They freaking absolutely love it. People in the Western world, it's kind of like the rooster fish in Mexico. Like Western guys will go down and be like, nah, I'm not shooting that. That's a piece of shit. Tastes like oily garbage, and no one wants it.
It's like
but the locals will,
yeah,
but the locals go freaking nuts for it. So to be honest, that triggerfish I shot, I didn't even eat it. I gave it away to the guys on the atoll. Nice. But
I think if one of us had the record triggerfish from the UK, we'd be buzzing.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
I'd turn it into a hat or a cape.
It just depends where you are and what you're hunting, doesn't it? I mean,
I reckon I saw one last year actually before I shot mine. It was like this, amazing.
He's doing an Anthony.
That was an Anthony. It was.
Are they the same kind of? Are they the same kind of thing with triggers in that they've got the whole beak and they're a coral eating type fish? Is it just a huge triggerfish?
It's basically a huge triggerfish, but the ones that in the Tuamotus they weren't coming up to. They were actually really, really flighty. They were acting almost like a snapper or a dentex.
All right.
They were keeping their distance. It was real weird. The reason why I reckon is because I was in this sort of pearl farm area where black Tahitian pearls, and all the locals would shoot them off the oysters because they were damaging the pearls manufacturing process. So they were real flighty, but they're huge. The teeth on them are massive.
Nice. I think the police have found you in the background.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, it's so good. We'll just make sure we get the podcast done. Just ask the police to wait.
Yeah, it's a holiday called Semana Santa right now, prior to the Easter holiday. So it's just absolutely chaos outside. So
kicking off big time.
Nice. So out of those 77 countries, just a quick one. Name your top 3 with a short story.
Yeah. So French Polynesia, Tuamotus, definitely on the list. Big dogtooth tuna, heaps of schools of job fish, and it's just an absolutely insane destination. Massive shark, massive amounts of sharks. And then I would say Mediterranean, just because it holds a special place in my heart for the dentex. If you speak to Dan Mann about the dentex, he's obsessed with it, as am I. And Albania, just because I shot the biggest dentex I've ever shot there. So I would have to say Albania, New Zealand, and the Tuamotus.
Nice. And a second ago, when you said French Polynesia, you were saying about taking extra shafts for, did you say sharks? Was that to shoot?
Yeah, no. I mean, you shoot a dogtooth tuna there, and if you don't stone it, it is getting annihilated by the sharks. And what happens is either you run a still shooting line, and that way the sharks don't bite through the line when they're biting the fish. The only problem with that is obviously if that wraps around you, you're pretty much done. So I don't like to use that. So I just run classic 8mm shaft, sub-tip setup, and even with that, your shafts are getting smashed into the reef, bent to shreds like a pretzel. So you need to go out there with like at least 6 shafts extra.
Oh,
Don't take out just one gun because it'll be a very short
yeah.
trip.
Well, man, that's cool. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention anything about the Azores if you've been out there as well. Does it live up to the hype?
I know, yeah. So the Azores is absolutely insane. I saw some, I would say, really, really close to the world record Cubera out there in like 30 meters of water. The temps are really, really good.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest marlin hunting grounds in the world. So it's absolutely, absolutely insane. But the problem is your average Spiro can't get out to these grounds where all that really, really good stuff is happening because it's just way out there. So in terms of like your average Spiro, those are my three countries, like New Zealand, Tuamotus, and Albania. Yeah. But if you have the means to be able to do those big massive trips, of course I would definitely change my mind, but it's just not the reality of most people.
Mm-hmm. What about Zanzibar? Have you ever been out there?
No. I was talking to David Ochoa the other day about Zanzibar actually, and it's either if you have a boat or even off a shore dive, absolutely sick spot it sounds like. So I'm keen to put that on the list for 2025.
Yeah, nice.
What's your favorite? Oh, sorry, go on, Rich.
So I'm thinking about trying to get out there as well. Sort of maybe next year.
Really,
it looks incredible, man. Yeah, I was looking at like local boats you can hire, just like locals. You pay them like $30 a day, and you can get a boat out there, no problem. But obviously, it's just knowing where to go, I suppose. That's the hardest part. But yeah, it looks sick, man. Yeah,
man, I'd be dead keen to join you on that. So if you do go, let me know, bro.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Earlier on, there was mention of an oarfish. Now, a little pre-context. I recently watched a video about there's a sea buoy in the south of France, in Villefranche. I don't know whether
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that video
with the diver that goes out to clean the cameras.
Yep.
Buoy anchored about 40 miles offshore. And it's anchored on the seabed, but it's something like 3,000 meters deep or something like that out there. And he goes out there to go and clean the cameras for GPS and tracking the color of the sea and like the what do we get in May? The algal blooms, stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And he was like, one day he was out there, and then suddenly out of nowhere, this oarfish just sort of rocks up, and he had the little bit of bitten out of his tail and stuff. And I was looking into it, and it's really, really interesting documentary. Now that I've watched that, I don't know if I'd shoot one, but you have. Did you like it?
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's so funny. I saw that same documentary. I actually looked at it after I shot the oarfish because I didn't know anything about these things. Like I knew it was obviously a very rare species because I saw some fish shows, some sort of line guys catch them in the past, and they just went kind of apeshit when they did. So I knew it was a special fish. But it was just here in the Dominican Republic off a shore dive. And it was about it's freaking crazy. I was at a surf beach called Spot X. I'm not gonna tell you where.
Yeah. Nice.
Anyways, it's a crazy surf break. Some of the guys are getting towed out on jet skis because the surf is pretty big. It was more of a flat day that day, and I went out to this point. I don't know, it's about a mile and a half offshore. Went out to this point, shot a small sort of cargo. And as I was making my way back in, I was shallow water. I was like 7 meters. And I saw this freaking thing, this shimmer. And at first I thought it was like a bit of some sort of pollution or some plastic or something in the water, like some big massive plastic piece in the water,
like saran wrap,
because there was a lot of sand getting chucked up into the water column from the waves. Couldn't tell what it was. It was moving quite slow as well. And when I got close, I said, "Holy shit! There's this huge freaking thing here." So I took a shot on it. It didn't fight at all. Like it was. I honestly think I just put it out of its misery. When I got it in, it had a bite out of its tail on the backside, just like the documentary as well. And on the top of his head, he had a bit of a chunk taken off the top of his head, but he was just slowly kind of making his way back into the shore.
Well, if you remember that documentary, he was probably coming in to shore to warn everybody about an earthquake.
Impending disaster.
Yeah. And you shot it. You shot it. And then the earthquake happened and everyone died. Never mind. Did you eat it?
Well, that's probably the thing the oarfish was trying to freaking warn me about, is that the meat quality was so shit.
No.
He was coming in to let me know, oh mate, my meat sucks. It was like the consistency of the best way to put it is like the consistency of almost like a jellyfish. It was this weird. Almost like almost clear white, like white, clear, milky meat. And when I took it off the beach out of the water, it was so big I didn't know how to carry it, so I just kind of slung it over my shoulder like a UFC belt or something.
It does look exactly like that on the picture, yeah.
Yeah, and then fucking hell. So I was walking and I'm like, fuck, I have to get a picture of this thing. This is like a once in a lifetime thing. So I went over to the other beach just across to get a photo, and just to walk like 500 meters, the weight of it hanging off either side, it sort of tore itself open in the midsection over my shoulder, you know.
Oh wow.
And by the time I got it there, I was like posing for pictures of these people, and the freaking thing just broke right in half. That's how soft the meat was. It's crazy.
Well, from that documentary, they're meant to be a normally seriously deep fish. And from other documentaries that I've watched, I think a lot of the deep stuff is quite, like you say, that texture of sort of jellyfish or mushy.
Yeah.
Heavily water-based.
I bet when you're walking up the beach, all the locals thought, fuck this. They were legging it because they thought a tsunami was coming.
They're all driving out high waters. High mountains, yeah. No, it was crazy. Yeah, all the locals kind of swarmed me. There was like, the beach was quite full that day. I think it was like a Saturday or a Sunday. And all the local Dominicans are out on the piss on their rums. They all came out, holy shit, puta madre, no way, no mames. And they're all swearing in Spanish and surrounding me. Funny thing was, I was like taking a photo of it. After all the photos, it was on the sand, and everyone was kind of trying to speak to me in my broken English, my broken Spanish and their broken English. And and then as I turn around, this freaking dude had taken my freaking oarfish, and he's like walking away, and I'm like, "Hey, mate, what are you freaking doing?"
What?
And he's like, I'm taking it to eat. I'm taking it to eat for my family. I'm like, and I saw the
What?
I saw the meat, you know. I'm like, fuck it. You know what? Let him, because I'm surrounded by about 40 Dominicans here. I'm in a place I don't know. Let him take it. He took it. I wish I would have stopped him, to be honest, because I should have sent it off to one of the universities here and had it sort of researched, because it's such a rare opportunity for any scientist to have a look at it in person. But looking back, I would have loved that, or even just to have like maybe some of the bones out of the head or something to do a mount would have been really, really freaking cool. But
yeah, man.
Anyways, I got the photo. Happy with that.
The main thing from all of that is that at least it sounds like the locals sort of knew even though it was rare, what kind of fish it was. And then even some of the locals, like you say, wanted to eat it so much so they were happy to steal it from your feet.
Yeah. It was
that's a good sign. But nice. Any funny stories while you've been traveling?
Oh, mate, yeah. Heaps.
Loads. Any about Dan Mann? Team GB manager.
Oh, Dan Mann.
We always want to do gossip on Dan.
Oh, Dan, man. Tell you what, the guy loves his chicken burgers. Fucking hell. That's an inside joke with me and him. But anyways. Yeah, we always try to keep it sort of civilized, but it never ends up that way. We meet up, and I'm American and Canadian. He's freaking Australian and British, and once the pints start flowing, it's all downhill from there. So yeah, we have our fair share of crazy times, but
nice.
Fair enough, huh? Nice.
One thing I was thinking about earlier on about trying to get in touch with the doctor, just following on from your sinus story and explosion. I'm wondering whether we can we remove our sinuses? Do we really need them as Spearos? Aren't they just a hindrance?
We got a few, right? It's like maybe it's like a kidney. You can have half and be all good.
Yeah. Just take the ones out of your head and
say the rest.
Do they do an operation where they shove something up your nose and like jiggle it about and then let it all like gets rid of all the cartilage and stuff? Or is that a different thing?
Lobotomy, Ben.
Is that the red light district in Amsterdam or what?
I'm sure. Like I've heard of some people having it done. Like if they have sinus problems, they like stick some tool up the nose and they like try and rip out some of the bits that's binding it all together. I don't think I've made that up.
I've seen something where they shove something up your nose and then it's sort of like a little mini balloon and then they sort of inflate it. And
they do it for your tubes, don't they? The eustachian tubes.
The eustachian tubes. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like anything I want done, to be honest.
I'll leave you guys to that. Fuck that.
I'm just going to quit spearfishing if that happens, right?
So earlier on you said about Sky, and obviously you bought a car in Bristol and then you drove up to Scotland. We had a little Sky trip with us lads. Did you meet anybody up there or did you just go up by yourself?
No, I didn't meet anyone up there. I was just sort of cruising around because I was waiting for I don't know what you guys call it there, for the registration or for the car. And so it took like 2 weeks to it took 2 weeks to get. So I said, oh shit, well, I'm not gonna wait around here. I was where was I? It's bloody mid north or something, like one of those shit towns, but
Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham.
Yeah, I think I was in Leeds. I gotta get out of here, mate. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty cool, but I was fucking tons of jellyfish, like, geez.
Really? Yeah, we went at a different
we had lots
of
jellyfish as well. Do you remember? Yeah, like lots of is it lion's manes? I think like with the long tentacles.
There was shit tons of lion's mane. I shot a pollock or two or whatever they are. Is it pollock? Yeah.
Pollock, yeah.
Shot a few of those things and I was like, I got to get out of here because these things the current was kind of drifting them towards me and their tentacles or whatever were flying in the current.
Yeah.
I don't remember them being stingy though.
Yeah,
they are. I've taken one to the lip, man. It is not pleasant.
Yeah. I think everyone was saying about
I crushed one with my hand, didn't I? And then I rubbed my face. Yeah. Now I remember.
Right.
I don't even remember the bloody jellyfish. All I remember is now. Yeah, I remember I had stingy lips from giving one a blowjob. But come on,
your dementia's definitely worse.
I know, dementia, old age.
So, just going back onto the spearfishing guiding stuff. So, if someone wanted to book you as a guide, like how does that work? Where does it start? I mean, they might not even have like a destination in mind, I guess, or maybe they do. I don't know. But where do you sort of like guide them? And where?
So I'm not guiding like everywhere in the world right now. I'm currently just going to locations that I am familiar with, obviously, because if I'm going to be a guide, I need to know my shit on that specific place, So previously around the Med, it was strictly in Albania. Now I'm working on a project in a real rarity sort of spot on the Pacific coast of Colombia.
Okay.
So working on a project outside of the Pacific coast of Colombia. So if you know anything about Central America, Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, it's insane fish out there. And so I'm going to try to run that, but in a more remote spot with bigger fish and more of a just real proper getaway. No internet. Oh, there's some, but you're going to get away from the real sort of life out there. So go to a lodge, go to a lodge and have a little panga take us out up north. And it's insane. And we got the humpbacks coming through from August onwards. And then October is all the big blue water stuff coming through. You got humpbacks, big blue water stuff, marlin, wahoo, you got huge cabera. So I'm working on that right now. And if you want to book something like that, send me a message on the gram, and I'd be happy to source something out for you.
That's awesome, man. That sounds really, really cool.
Mm.
And I mean, like, if presumably someone like us, I mean, I know Anthony's done a little bit, but we've not done much blue water hunting. Is that something that's achievable? Like coming out there, do you guide people through that and how to do it? Like, you know, do you sort of get them ready for that?
100%. It's so, even going back to my earlier days, like when I was in New Zealand, I was hunting some, I was just shore diving and boat diving for, bigger species like the larger kingfish, 20, 25 kilo. So I had a bit of experience shooting bigger fish, but, those blue water fish can double or triple that easily. And so I did a big trip out to the Cook Islands on the charter, and basically zero experience on blue water. And that's easily something that your guide, if they're experienced with that, they can easily guide you through that. They'll have all the setup to properly show you what to do. You're not obviously going to go on a blue water trip with a guide and have to provide your own bungees and 3-atmosphere floats and all that stuff. So that's something that we provide. And then we'll do sort of like a walkthrough of your abilities and then guide you through all the process of how we're going to safely achieve one of these larger fish. One of the biggest things is just line management. Everything else is easily teachable. You're just like shooting a small bass, the same thing as shooting a huge wahoo, line it up, go for it.
So on that, what would you say is the minimum requirements of a Spearo? So if you've got a totally noob Spearo that's never been in the water, bought the gear and no idea kind of thing, what would you say is the minimum requirements for big blue water fishing? Is it minimum dive depth? Is there, minimum breath hold?
Honestly, blue water is a lot of hurry up and wait. So you're just sitting in the blue, floating around. There's not a lot of shit going on most of the time. It could be real boring, to be honest. But when those species do show up, a lot of time they're either in the mid water column or they're just right on the top of the water. Your wahoo are usually sitting at the top. Your mahi always on the top. Even the marlin, if they do come, they're coming from wherever, and they're going to be coming up to that mid water column. So if you can dive, 10, 15 meters, you're going to be able to shoot these species for sure.
Nice.
Is that your favorite type of hunting, Patrick? Like the blue water stuff?
Oh, no, to be honest, it's probably my least favorite. I love reef hunting, honestly. Like reef hunting is freaking epic.
Yeah.
What I really, really love is a shore dive. Sounds weird, but I love to keep it simple. One of my favorite things is to, walk into the water with nothing and come out with like something that blows people's minds. They're sitting on the beach having a cocktail or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just in front of like
I think you've achieved that one.
Feels a bit more like James Bond, doesn't it? What's your favorite fish to hunt?
You just come out, you have this thing. Favorite fish to hunt? Man, I don't know what is
it Dentex?
Definitely. To be honest, Dentex has to be on the list, man. It's like so high up there. Freaking ridiculous. If you ever try to hunt Dentex, it's freaking hard. And Dan, he's made many videos on that. I think, I don't know, it took him years to get, and even myself, it took me years. It's just a crazy fish to hunt.
I know that we've seen the videos from. Oh, it's not Ray. Christ, bloody tampon out. I know that we've seen videos of Dan Mann hunting the Dentex and then getting them. What, in your opinion, makes the Dentex so difficult to hunt?
The fact that the Dentex is specifically, mostly situated around the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean fish have been hunted for thousands of years. Obviously, spearfishing has sort of originated around French Polynesia, I guess people would argue, but a lot of it has been done around Greece as well. So these fish have been targeted for years and years and years. And that place has just been smacked so hard with commercial fisheries. In Albania, we have a huge problem with dynamite fishing. So that's even operational to this date. I had a mate tell me about it. He was out there like last week and they were smacking with dynamite. So these fish are just so freaking sketchy. They don't come in at all. And if you do see one and you take a pop shot at one and you miss, you're never going to see it again. And you're not going to see another one in that same spot for maybe a week or 2 or 3 or even a month, So you have to make your shots count. The fish are so fast. They react like incredibly fast. You need to have a roller. A traditional gun, I would say, is like, you're probably not going to achieve the same outcome because the velocity of the shafts is just a little bit slower. I've had many videos on my Instagram that I've slowed down and I've shot even like, for example, sea bream or whatever, gilthead, and they have, or sargo, and they've turned before the shaft has even like left the gun. Like they heard the sound the gun had made. The sound travels faster than the shaft. They've heard the sound, and if you put it in real slow-mo, you'll see the fish already be turning before the shaft arrives. And that's the same thing with these Dentex. So you have to have a really fast gun. It has to be able to penetrate through their thick scales. And ideally, you want to play them quite light. So when you shoot them, I try not to drag them up hard. I let them just do their thing. We don't have sharks there, so you can let them tire out. Ideally, a double flopper would be probably ideal. You don't really need a slip tip, but single flopper, sometimes I've had issues where they're barely hanging on by a thread.
Awesome. I mean, I've never even seen a bream in the water, so I've got quite a long way to go before hunting the Dentex.
Oh man!
But like, how long did it take you to get there to be hunting at that level? Is that a year's? Like, I mean, how long have you been hunting in total? I can't remember if you said earlier.
So I don't know exactly like a date, or a year, but it's kind of all come into a blur. I said before, sort of when the first Noob Spiro podcast episodes came out is when I started to hunt. They've been on the show for quite a long time.
Yeah.
If I can Google that, give it a Google, mate. Give it a Google.
It's got like 300 odd episodes now, I think.
Yeah, it's ages. So I was messing around a little bit before that, but seriously getting into it when they first started. So yeah, and the thing is, becoming a spear fisherman that travels is a lot different than, honing in a skill in one country, because you need to have the species ID. Obviously, you have to have understanding of how the fish looks as a silhouette, or in the depth, maybe a fish will change color. So if you have, like, say, a fish that's red on the top water column and you're hunting at 20 meters, it's going to look like it's gray. And you'll be like, oh shit, that's not even the species I want. But if you don't understand those things, you might not even take that into consideration. So, basically I would say every sort of different terrain or location that I've hunted, I would give it like a solid 2 years until you're sort of proficient at that area of hunting. Like New Zealand, I'd give it like 2 years. Mediterranean, 2 years. Even here, I'm starting to figure it out here in the Dominican, in the Atlantic coast. And, I'm starting to figure it out, but I'm not going to say I'm an expert at all. There's a million things to learn out here. So.
And what is that mostly? Is that like different fish and the way they react, or is it different styles of hunting?
Definitely different styles of hunting. In New Zealand, it would be like snooping, they would say. So you're sort of stalking the fish, you're hiding along a ledge in the seagrass or seaweed, and coming around a corner. Excuse that truck for 1 second. Sorry, guys.
All right.
All right. I think we're good. So you're coming around the corner, and you're trying to sneak up on the snapper, and then you got the Mediterranean is sort of a stock and wait, so you're diving real deep, just sitting there for ages, real deep dives, small fish, and long shots with really fast reacting fish. So you have to be very accurate. And now here, you're battling a lot of current and huge waves. Most of the problem here is just getting out, because I'm on like the windiest coasts of the Dominican, so it's like the windsurfing capital of the world. Kite surfing, surfing. It's one of the biggest spots in the world for that. So it's probably not the best place for spearfishing. But because of that, it's sort of it's a natural barrier to fishermen and spearos. So those bigger fish are usually found around those breaking waves and on the backside of those big swell.
Nice. And just going back, another question on this traveling is how long or how much research do you put into for things like licenses? Because when I went out to Tenerife, I had to do a license to do pesca submarina, underwater fishing, and I sort of went into it blind. It took me 2 days, pretty much solid, to get it sorted. So do you do all the work on that before? Have you got a team or anybody, contacts to figure all that stuff out?
One of the benefits of having like a little bit of a following on the gram is having a lot of contacts around the world. And I used to work at this real big spearfishing shop in New Zealand. So I gained a lot of real cool contacts with manufacturers around the world. And so they put me in contact with their guys around the world. And so it all sort of works like that. But in terms of the licenses, I mean, like on that trip I did through the Mediterranean, I went to Turkey and I was like, okay, it's kind of hard to dive out there. And I went to the local shop and they're like, oh, you need to get a license. And then I went to the Coast Guard and they're like, okay, if you're going, you got to go with the buddy. You got to do a written thing to us on paper in Turkish and tell us where you're diving, when you're going to be out, who you're going with, what are you doing, and I'm like, holy shit, man. So, I did the old Google Translate and I sort of told them I'm pretty proficient. So they accepted the fact I was going to go solo. But every day I went out hunting there, I had to do this written contract.
Bloody hell.
I don't know if it's the same for other spearos that have been out there, but I was in a few kind of remote areas, sort of towards the Syrian border, far east. And that was a bit different than, on the more Western front.
Wow.
Nice. Can certainly be a little bit, or seem like it's a bit bewildering, but like you say, for new people that are going to go out and try and go elsewhere, the best thing is to try and find somebody that you can see on Instagram or Facebook that's been there, and just message them, ask them how they did it, and what you need, or look on the websites of those countries, and Google Translate.
There used to be a good, man, I forgot the name of it on Facebook. There used to be a group on Facebook that was like International Spearos, sort of like a find a dive buddy sort of Facebook page. And so you could just say, oh, hey, mate, I'm going to go on a holiday here. And then anyone in the area can join you. And that way you have a dive buddy there. So that's also having a dive buddy for safety, but also they'll have a local knowledge and things about the licenses and stuff.
Yeah, nice. One of the clubs that we've got in the BSA called the London International Club. That's one club that I would recommend joining if you are either London-based or more of a international spearo. Is getting the LIC, and there's a lot of information, a lot of people there that have dived all over the world. Daniel Mann, I believe, is also in the LIC. So join the LIC, and then you can just message Dan Mann all of your dick pics. And say that Ant said to do it. You'll have his mobile number.
I already do that without even joining the LIC, so fuck, I'm
nice.
ahead of the game.
You haven't got paid.
Yeah, we'll just share his mobile number on here and everyone can send it. What goals and like what sort of species are you particularly after this year? Like anything in particular that you really want to nail?
This year I'm on the hunt for here in the Dominican. I'm on a hunt for a 30 kg wahoo. We've got Silver Bank out here, which is 40 miles offshore. It's a real insane marlin grounds. Nice. Would love to smack a marlin out here, but if not, Colombia is a go. I'd love to smack a rooster fish. They taste like shit, but they look real cool. Love to get one of them. Yeah. And just a good sized cabera. That's about it.
Yeah, nice, man. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah.
Nice. And is there anywhere that you haven't been that you're like, that is bucket list?
So I'd love to dive out in Socotra, Yemen, which is fucking pretty weird. I don't even think that you're allowed to dive out there. But there's this island off of Yemen. It's called Socotra. It's a real unique spot.
Is that
you can
that
dive
blue
it?
water?
It's Red Sea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a freaking epic spot. If you're gonna do that, you probably want to take like your guns through, maybe get a mate from the UAE or something, and then sort of sail across or something like that. Because I don't think you're allowed to take the guns there. Probably not should promote that, but
yeah, sneaky things that we will let listeners message you about.
Zanzibar is on the list for sure. I'd love to go out to Brazil this coming year, South Africa, Madagascar, Mozambique. Those are all definitely on the list.
They're all nice blue water, quite warm Mediterranean styly waters. No plans for the likes of Iceland, Norway, or have you been there?
I've been to Iceland and Norway. I've been up to Lofoten. I've been around Reykjavik and all around Iceland. One of my things, those are just my goals for this year, but one of the things, and maybe the next year, the year after that, would definitely be Greenland.
Nice.
So someplace that not a lot of people have been. I'd also love to spearfish in the Amazon River, some freshwater species. There's this fish out there. It's like it breathes on the surface. I don't remember the Brazilian name for it, but anyways, it's one of the largest fish, like freshwater fish in the world. This thing is huge. It's like over 100 kilos, can be like 3 meters long, huge, thick scales. And then you have to deal with anacondas in the water and piranhas and shit. So,
while you're out there, if you see a big pink blob looking like dolphin, don't shoot it. They are very much liked by the locals, and the locals will shoot you and probably eat you.
I've seen those.
they're like a manatee, or I can't remember.
I heard they taste like chicken.
Well, that's you banned from the Amazon. There you go.
A bit of a Sunday roast, put some potatoes on the side, you're good to go.
That's it. Can't be any worse than Anthony's cooking. Well, one last question then, mate. What keeps you motivated? Do what you're doing, man. Like, what's it all about for you?
Oh man, to be honest, it's like just fucking have fun, eh? Like, you don't have to shoot the biggest shit in the world. You don't have to freaking go to the most insane, epic spot in the world. Like, if you have a spot right at your fingertips, freaking go out there and have fun. You don't have to shoot the biggest thing. Like, go out to your local, fucking go out there and just have fun. That's what I like to do. Like, I don't always have to be chasing these freaking fish. And I'm like 20 seconds from the beach right now, and it's like a real shit hunting ground. Usually smashed by waves, real shallow. But those are sometimes some of the funnest sort of diving conditions, because those are actually more challenging than going to these real cool places and knowing that there's huge fish. Like, go to a real shit spot. You can't see anything. There's waves smashing on you. You're shallow as, can't see anything, and just shoot something for dinner.
Yeah.
For me, that's freaking epic. Like, bring it down Barney style, make it real easy, and get a feed. That's what it's all about for me at the end of the day.
Amen, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. If anyone wants to reach out, where can they find you, dude? What's the easiest way to get in contact with you?
Send me a message on the Instagram. Send me an email. expatoverlanding@gmail.com. I'm on the Facebook as well, but don't really go on there too much. But yeah, Instagram, man.
Sweet. And the Instagram handle's Deep Water Dreaming, eh? So yeah,
that's it.
Great to have you on. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can hook up with that Zanzibar trip.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick.
Ed, that'd be freaking epic, man. Zanzibar would be really, real cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Cool. Cheers, man.
Enjoy
your evening.
Good luck.
Have a good weekend, and I'll catch you later.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, bro. Bloody hell, that was a cracking episode.
Fucking cunt. Sorry, listeners. Like, in between recording the outro after Patrick left, we just had a quick chat. We're running behind. We were talking too much to do the intro, so we're going to do the intro in a second. But this is the outro. But we were just talking and saying, the first words that come out of Richard's mouth is going to be, "Oh, well, that was a good episode, guys, wasn't it?"
I couldn't even finish the sentence, man. I couldn't do it.
Honestly, we're just going to use this outro in every episode from now.
Mate, that literally was a good episode, so I don't know what the fuck you want me to tell you.
No, it was good.
Oh, that was fucking shit, wasn't it?
No, so again, we apologise for the internet connection of Patrick. Obviously being in the DR and the noise in the background. They've got I don't even want it's like a holiday festival.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, be for Easter or some shit on it.
They've got a long bank holiday weekend and they do it better than us Brits. So yeah. But no, it was a very good episode, Richard.
That was quite interesting when we were talking about dynamite fishing, though, because obviously when we spoke to Taj, remember he was saying in Lebanon they do a lot of that as well, still, don't they? In the Mediterranean.
Yeah. When he was saying it, I didn't realise there was anything that could anger me more than trawling. But now there is. Like dynamite fishing.
That's so bad, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's mad. Surely there must be better ways of doing it. Because you're just destroying all the habitat that the fish are going to come to. So next year you're going to have nothing. It seems like so short-sighted, but anyway,
just fucking morons.
Yeah,
like what I'd love to have is actually a proper conversation or get a guest on here that is a dynamite fisher and actually get their side of why, it's right. It's kind of like getting a trawler on to, say.
I was going to say, do you want me to find you a vegan to come on and sort of
please do. Oh yes, please. Tree hugging vegan.
I'd be quite interesting to get like
quite close to it.
Sorry.
I'm only one you are. You were going to say sorry.
I think it'd be quite good to get a commercial fisherman on. I think actually, because I think sometimes they get more bad rep than they deserve.
I would say
I think there's like it's on a sliding scale of there's some really bad apples who just don't give a shit about what they're doing to under the sea, and there's the other end of the scale where actually they really care and they want it to be there for future generations, and they they do things sustainably and sensibly. So I think it'd be quite interesting to get a commercial fisherman on. Rich?
Yeah, I think it's quite a good idea. I'll get on it.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say is that I think when we say commercial fishermen, it is a very broad term.
Yeah, it is massive. Yeah.
And in their defense, like I was saying, the reason I said trawlers is because trawlers are a commercial fishing type and they are the worst, in my opinion. Whereas you've got commercial fishers that will go hook and line pollock fishing.
True, mate. But there's different like trawling setups as well, right?
Yeah, none of them good.
It's
in my opinion.
Yeah, it's all like your perspective on it. I mean, as you say, if you look at those massive factory ships, which scoop everything up, and then freeze it on board and tin it on board or whatever the fuck they're doing,
and then send it to the other side of the world.
Yeah, that just seems like it's just crazy. But yeah, for sure,
we're a very woke podcast now, aren't we?
We are.
Dear, I didn't expect it to go this far.
But yeah, he's got a hell of a life. Imagine that.
77 countries is mad, isn't it?
Traveling around the world, spearfishing, and just
definitely got OnlyFans, isn't he? Like, there's no other way you can fucking afford.
We didn't ask how he did it to support himself.
No, he's got OnlyFins. All right.
OnlyFins.
Nice. That's what he did.
You like it?
Well, you go on OnlyFans and just at Patrick Ryan fins.
See what comes up.
Just photos of his fins with his dick on them.
He'll be there in his Percet, man.
I've got a Percet now.
Oh, there you go. You could start an OnlyFins account.
Yeah.
There might be one person that buys it, Rachel.
Say the other name. Oh.
So I was hoping to get out this weekend, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure what's going to happen.
Not going to happen. Not a chance in hell, mate. I admire Patrick's enthusiasm for getting out when there's big waves and dirty water, but I won't be doing it this weekend. No chance.
I was speaking to. Sorry, go on.
Well, although when we had the South African chap on who was saying about how he does it in
Grant. Yeah.
Grant. Yeah. and he does it almost by like sound.
Oh,
I'd love
mate,
to be able to do that. Maybe we
he
should go
must.
out. Maybe we should.
Mate, you
Hit
can
the,
imagine how bad it is where he is down there, like in the
yeah,
solo. Like they got nothing, man.
but he's always
Mm.
catching fish, or at least it looks like it on Instagram.
Oh yeah, social media, man.
It's probably just the same fish, like
Just
recycled.
keep taking it back out of the freezer.
Change my t-shirt and put on a yeah.
If you
No,
rotate the
I'm,
image,
I'm
it's
not
like
saying that's what Grant's doing. I'm just saying, like, just to clarify that.
No, maybe we should go out just have a swim. It might be quite interesting. Not that
Yeah,
there's any
well,
fish out there, to be fair, but
yeah. I was just thinking about getting out for a swim at the least, really, because
yeah.
obviously I'm doing the new Spear Ready program,
Oh
and sort of
yeah.
like part of it is that you're meant to be like sort of diving if you can, really. But
How's that
obviously,
going?
yeah, good mate. Yeah, I can't really talk too much about it because obviously, like,
Top
it's
secret.
still in the test phase of it, so I don't think Shrek would appreciate me sort of spilling the beans on it yet.
you
But
haven't earned your ninja belt yet.
yeah, I'm still a white belt, mate.
Still a
But yeah,
Padawan.
it's really good. Like, it's all obviously based around spearing, so obviously I feel like it's put me in a good position to start the season off.
Yeah.
Lost
But
weight?
I just yeah, mate, I'm another 2 kilos down since the last spoke to you boys.
Good
Nice.
man.
So yeah, again, then obviously doing loads of like different dynamic breath hold stuff and breath hold walks and all sorts of wonderful weird shit, which is making my lungs burn, which is good. But I'll tell you boys about that off the podcast.
Nice.
But yeah, so anyway, going back to going out this weekend, I just want to go out for a swim, really, to be honest, if nothing else. But
Yeah, might be
yeah,
keen. What time do things kick off at the Dorset Spearfishing Club?
yeah, we got AGM on Saturday, so it's 1 o'clock, I think it kicks off.
Oh, maybe I'll come
So
across early and come for a swim with you then.
yeah, I was hoping like again for some before that, really. So
Yeah, sounds good, mate.
get a couple miles on the belt.
Nice. The only thing I was going to say was I was speaking to Davo on the way back from our little trip out the other day, and when we were looking at the sea, there is a distinct brown line where it then goes blue. It's about a mile and a half out, but I don't know whether there's any pinnacles that you haven't looked that far out, and whether you could fling the boat in the water and go and have a look, and see if you can find any pinnacles further out. You got like Eddystone down in Plymouth, but up that way, I didn't know if there was anything off of.
I think the wind's still blowing pretty hard on Saturday, isn't it?
Oh,
Or it
windy.
is Saturday.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
I mean, you might be all right in it on the boat, but
If Damon
I'm
wouldn't
like
be.
fair weather diver.
Poor Damon.
Poor Damon.
Is Damon a fair boat diver? Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
It was.
Oh, he would have loved that. The first Dorset Open, wouldn't he? Remember that? That was
when you're
savage.
spewing your guts.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
horrible.
quite bad when we went out on Sunday. It was
Oh really?
at least 3-ish-inch waves.
3-inch waves.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, mate. I was feeling a little bit rough actually when because the wind was blowing quite hard. It was offshore, but in certain like places, if you're further out, then it was just quite choppy, like small big waves rather than like longer.
Yeah, I nearly spilt my cup of tea. Very nearly. But it was
so
fine.
Macho, mate. So macho.
You want sympathy out of him?
You ain't getting it. Oh dear. No,
anyway,
your boat performed really well. And
yeah, it was really cool to get out actually, because that's the first time it's been out since I did a couple of things to it actually. So I fitted a new do you call it like a GPS unit, I guess?
Yeah, GPS
Sat nav
fish
thing.
finder.
Yeah, fish finder. Yeah, so that performed pretty well, pretty happy with that. All my electronics seemed to function correctly, much to my surprise. So that was good. And it had a service and everything and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely I didn't expect it to be any different, but I reckon there was another like, I don't know, 500 RPM on the motor this time compared to last time. So that service has really done it some good. And yeah, it was just nice to get out, wasn't it? We haven't been out for so long. I'm sorry, Rich, you couldn't make it, but maybe next time.
That's all good, man.
You're
We'll catch
shopping
you
or
boys
something,
on the next
maybe.
one.
Yeah.
If Rich had come, we might have been able to keep up with your boat. Having a third person on yours. Poor old Dave, little boat. That's the one thing. I guess I want to ask you about your GPS before we go, but the one thing with Davo's boat, he's got one of those sea skis. For spearfishing, it's such a good boat. It's so much space, light as hell. You can launch it and recover it in 5 minutes. It used like probably 8-10 quid's worth of fuel for the entire day out. It was really, really good. However, versus rib, if Dave is on one side of the boat to get in, and I'm not watching him get in, and I'm on the other side of the boat, I'm also getting in without planning on getting in.
It was quite funny. Several times when you nearly fell in.
Fucking Dave!
So unstable.
Do you remember when I fell off his boat and I had no fins on and trying to get back in was a bloody nightmare?
You fell off Dave's boat?
Yeah. I got into it and I was taking my fins off, and as I took my fins off, I fell back into it because it's like it just wobbles so much. I fell back off, and then obviously trying to get back in was a nightmare because I was like a stone heavier than I am now. I was like, oh my God.
I was saying the day that because I haven't been in for probably 4 or 5 months, my boat hasn't been out for that long, if not longer. You sort of kind of similar with the spearfishing. Like my first dive was like 26 seconds and I was panicking, going, fuck it, I'm drowning. But it's like you haven't got your sea legs, and it takes a little bit to get back used to it. And because I've only been used to my rib, getting back into Dave's boat, which must have been now a year since I've been in it, it was like, Jesus Christ, this thing, it's going to capsize at any moment. But it was absolutely fine. So I feel so like, and this is why I've got no sympathy for you fuckers, because you guys were in your nice, gorgeous plush rib and still feeling slightly seasick. And there's me and Dave going, oh no, we're fine. We've got a fucking run going. It's like fucking Christ. How's your anchor, by the way? Is it still nice and light?
Yeah.
Damon still complains.
Poor Damon. He wasn't happy.
I turned around a couple of times when we were moving off and watching Damon put it up. I was like, oh no, I real quite bad. And then I forgot about it and moved on.
Yeah. I thought we were going to swap it.
We will swap. The second you want to swap it, as long as we've got both of our boats near us, we'll swap it. You know, I have my rope, though.
Swap it for a bigger one so Damon gets a better workout.
Yeah.
I did it once and I was like, mate, you're going to have to take over next time.
For those of you that don't know, this anchor, so there was a choice of a 5, a 7.5 and a 10 kilo. I don't know what these type of anchors are called, but it's one of those scoop anchors that's got like a shovel. And Ben's rib, I wanted it to be, you
were helping me buy some stuff, weren't you?
Yeah,
because I was a little bit I don't know,
green in the gills.
Green, yeah. So we had a shopping list, didn't we? And I said, "Go on, mate, if you want to get a few bits, because you were doing some stuff on the trailer."
Yeah,
and most of it was all good. The
anchor's good.
The key didn't fit. That was one thing, like the
safety
the safety thing.
Thingy.
But I mean, that was
sand it down a little bit, a little bit of modification.
Yeah.
It was all Amazon. It was all next.
But this anchor is just it's next level. Like it'd be comfortable on a cruise ship.
And that's the thing. If ever you want to upgrade, you can take the anchor with you.
I reckon we could get another 15 meters on that anchor.
I mean, it probably would have saved the Titanic, but it's fine. It'll do you for life.
No, and to be fair, my muscles are a little bit bigger now than they were before.
Right, we need to stop chatting shit and let everybody go.
Sorry. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Richard. Oh, birthday.
Yeah. So I need to
birthday.
Write a card and shit. And
21 again.
Put nice words in it.
What are you going to write in the card?
Probably just,
Roses
I love
are red,
you so much.
Violets are blue. I don't know the rest. I love you. There you go. That's
anyway.
That's my tip.
Cheers for another good one, boys.
Yeah, it is, lads. Lovely to see you again as always.
And
check the comments. Sorry, the doobly doo down below, the information, and we'll link Patrick Ryan's socials, and you can reach out to him.
Sweet.
Thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys. Bye.